An intriguing entry in the 1910 census is that of Katherine Wai, a 16-year-old from China who lodged with a family on Lincoln Street. Her journey to Westerville began with Regina Bigler, a medical missionary to China. Bigler ran a clinic that served hundreds of people a day near the ancient city of Guangzhou, or Canton. Guangzhou had been a major flashpoint between Westerners and Qing China during the Opium Wars, which had been fought a few decades before Bigler's arrival. This legacy shaped the childhood of a girl named Katherine Wai. According to one account, her father smoked opium, had a bad gambling habit, and struggled to pay off his debts. His solution was to sell his daughter into slavery. Somewhere along the way, Regina Bigler found out about this plan and decided to take matters into her own hands by raising the girl as her own. By 1909, Regina Bigler and Katherine Wai made their way south to Hong Kong, where they boarded a ship. Before long, they were caught in the middle of a dangerous typhoon in the open ocean. Like the voice of a gale in a forest, the typhoon and the bursting seas roared, one newspaper article described. The rough waters even swept lifeboats overboard. For 6 terrifying hours, over 100 Chinese passengers were locked in steerage below decks. The reporter revealed his disdain for the Chinese immigrants, complaining that they cowered and whined despite not being able to see the full fury of the storm's wrath. But Katherine Wai was not in steerage. She was actually listed as the only Chinese first-class cabin passenger. The mostly Western cabin passengers, the reporter proudly claimed, calmly stayed in their rooms until the storm had passed. And this type of racism was common when Katherine Wai landed in San Francisco with 2 bags in hand. The U.S. had effectively suspended Chinese immigration 3 decades earlier with the Chinese Exclusion Act. Non-laborers like teachers, students, and tourists were exempt. She told immigration officials that her passage had been paid for by her foster mother, Bigler. She also said her final destination was Westerville, which implies that she had probably intended to come to Otterbein as a student all along. Bigler probably made this arrangement since both she and the college were affiliated with the United Brethren Church. So by presenting herself as both a student and as the family member of an American, Katherine Wai made her case for gaining entrance into the country. In Westerville, Katherine Wai, as she was known, lodged with Milton Gantz's family and enrolled in a college preparatory program at Otterbein. She continued as a full-fledged Otterbein student until she graduated in 1918. Even after she had been in Westerville for almost a decade, her classmates constantly defined her by her foreignness. Quotes in Otterbein's yearbooks describe her as a witty Chinese girl who was always adding luster to the scene with her queer ways and lingo. But even though anti-Chinese sentiment pervaded American culture, she did encounter many people who were genuinely curious about life in China. She funded her education by booking speaking engagements across Ohio and the Midwest. She would cover topics like Chinese clothing, the state of religion in China, and her own personal story. Wai eventually returned to Asia, married, had 4 children, and became a teacher. They lived in Hong Kong when the Imperial Japanese Army occupied the city during World War II. A Japanese sergeant arrested her after she shared a rice ration card with a friend who had joined the communist guerrilla forces that were fighting against the Japanese occupation. During her interrogation, the sergeant and an interpreter beat her with a bamboo stick and twisted her arm. Her friends were also tortured. She survived the war and bravely testified against her captors in court in 1948. The Gantzes received a letter in 1952 informing them of Wai's death. What makes her story so fascinating is how chapters in world history that usually seem totally irrelevant to Westerville history suddenly don't feel so distant anymore, like imperialism, steamship travel, the opium trade, immigration law, and the horrors of war. Katherine Wai's life demonstrates just how interconnected Westerville is with the wider world.